Shut up and sit down.
Good evening, good morning, and welcome everyone to this very special broadcast. This is the HJ Showcase from Belle Isle. Qualifying is underway for the Sports Car Classic. This will be a 40-minute race with the Corvette C7 Daytona prototype and the GTE class, including the new Porsche 911 RSR on the streets of Belle Isle, Detroit. Joining me, Alex Albert. Alex, how are we doing tonight?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. How excited are you to see these cars and also the new Porsche 911 on this new circuit, new to iRacing, the Detroit Grand Prix Belle Isle?
Well, I'm not sure I have words that can adequately express my excitement, but needless to say, I'm very excited. I love the RSR. I got a chance to see it with you in person last year at VIR, and as I was mentioning in the pre-race, I've been to Belle Isle, so it's going to be great to to see the two of my favorites here together tonight in the virtual world.
Exactly, and I think that excitement for this new track and that car is what's driven our great participation. I believe we had 39 cars on the entry list for the Sports Car Classic. Of course, this event is a double header. We have a 40-minute sports car race. We'll take a very quick break, and then we have the 40-lap IndyCar Grand Prix with the latest Dallara IR18 on these same streets. But first, it's the Sports Car Classic.
Yeah, I think we're going to have quite a show tonight, and as you mentioned, there is quite the strong field. Ronnie Nunez looking to be one of the favorites here in the DP class. He was very quick in qualifying or in practice, and he's backed that up so far in qualifying. And unless some of these other guys really find some speed that they didn't have earlier in the weekend, I'd say he's going to be your pole sitter.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting because these drivers have not had a lot of access to this track. It's very recently available. So some people will be testing out some new setups. Some people won't have had as much track time as they like. It'll be exciting to see what happens, and some of these guys will be feeling it out as they go. So let's have a quick look through because I'd like to mention some of the people who are here. That's Ronnie Nunez is currently sitting on the pole, but he's probably got coming up to finish his second lap. Ronnie Nunez from, I think that's Talk Freaked right there. He's doing well. We've got some other big names in the field. We've got Wyatt Gooden leading the GTE class from Radicals Online.
Yeah, got a black license there. I think that's the only black license in the field.
Yeah, a real pro on the streets of Belle Isle. We've got Philip Morton. I'm not sure who he's racing for today, but I think normally he's from Fitzstein Motorsport and FT1, but very good to have him here, especially in the Daytona prototype number 72. I was looking around. We've got quite a few drivers from Reverend Racing. I've seen 3 cars from them on the grid, and that looks like qualifying is done. Do you want to run us through the Daytona prototype grid?
Sure. Starting on pole for the Daytona prototypes will be Ronnie Nunez. Starting next to him will be Mike Young, then Philip Morton and Christopher Wheel. 5th place will be Marshall Stanley. After that, we'll have Benjamin Morton, and the next starter would be Clement Andrew. And let's see, the rest of our DPs are Matt Hollaball, sorry, Lionel Freeze, and Julian Rambode.
Yep, I'll run us down through the GTE or GTLM grid. On pole, Wyatt Gooden. Alongside him for the rolling start here, Blake Neck. Then Jorge A. Flores, Martin Donati, Ryan Dreger, Paul Morris, Alexander Klenk. That's a promising young name there. Ayuna Kankapati, William Varlin, Benjamin Perez, Lyndon Swaby, and a very large popular grid in the GTE. Plenty of cars in that class. Well, they're all lining up on the back straight there. Very short run before we get to the rolling start.
Yeah, kind of surprised that iRacing placed the grid here, but it will make races go a little quicker. Races like this, though, it's not going to give you time to build the space that we normally like to see between the classes. So hopefully Wyatt, being the pro, will talk to the other GTE boys and make sure they leave a gap here so we can see two distinct races.
Yeah, so have we mentioned that we have a fuel restriction in place in both classes? We are expecting to see a pit stop at some point in the 40 minutes for all cars. 60% fuel tank restriction for the Daytona prototypes, 50 for the GTE class. Now, the tank is normally a bit bigger in the GTEs, so we'll expect to see them in later. Pace car is in, and ooh, Ronnie Nunez sees the green, and they go racing on Belle Isle.
Well, he touches a little curve there into one. No problem. And looks like all those Corvettes did better than the Corvette at the IndyCar race.
Yeah, let's hope we get a relatively clean start. Oh, someone's in the wall there for the GTE class.
Oh, big wreck. Oh, man.
Oh, that's a lot of dented Porsche. That's very painful to see.
Yes.
Leader in that class, Wyatt Gooden, has gotten through clearly, and Blake Neck is behind him for, I think that's Fusion Sim Racing, and he's in a Ford GT, so that's bucking the trend, but he's gotten through that cleanly.
Yeah, we'll just have to take a look here and see once the cars come through, see who has to pit. There was just so much going on there that I don't know that we can go back and find it. But this is some great action we're seeing here. Great camera work by the crew back in the booth, back in the trailer there. I love that camera right along the barrier down low.
Yeah, since that pace car incident for IndyCar at Belle Isle, I think Turn 2 has taken on some meme proportions here. And unfortunately, with about 30 cars in the GTE grid, it wasn't possible for all of them to get through cleanly. We've still got plenty running, and I think we'll still see some good racing. 38 minutes or 26 laps to go.
Someone I have my eye on is Jeff Tyler, up 13 positions from the start. My guess is Jeff made good use of the crash ahead and was able to work his way through there. Yeah.
He might have gone Days of Thunder through the smoke and gotten through, or maybe with only 2 laps and a limited amount of time in qualifying, he didn't get the run he was after.
Yeah, but looks like Jeff's car's clean, and the cars behind him is not, so yeah.
40 minutes feels like a bit of a sprint race, but really, if you can keep your car clean, keep an eye on your fuel, pit when it'll suit you, I think there's some strategy to be played out, and you can make a good race of it.
Do you think that the boys will be taking tires? Whoa.
Not 100%. What are you seeing?
We see a very close call here with one of the DPs. It's the Lionel Freese. He just loops it down here into the at the end of the backstretch, hits the wall, gets hit by another DP. The DP train goes by. He loops it right in front of the GTE leaders, and very close. I don't think there was contact, but it was definitely a high risk maneuver.
And the pace difference around this circuit between the Daytona prototypes and the GTE class, it's really only maybe 2 or 3 seconds per lap. We've got a little bit of a spread in the pace of our drivers that makes it maybe closer to 2, and they weren't that separated on the start. So hopefully they'll spread out a bit more as this race continues on.
So Freese is on pit road. So pit road is busy right now with cars taking repairs. Now, is there a fast repair available?
Not in the Sports Car Classic. In the longer length IndyCar Grand Prix, the drivers will have one fast repair available to them that hopefully they won't need to use. So Wyatt Gooden, our GTE leader, trying to play it safe as he comes through some of the Daytona prototypes. A lot of pace for him in that Porsche 911 RSR. Any particular battles through the field you've got your eye on, Alex?
I'm a bit of a homer, so I am watching the timing screen of Jeff Tyler. Lots of movement around there. He's only about a second behind the car ahead of him, and he's got 1/2 a second off his tail. So Tyler, usually one to drive the Ford, is experimenting. It looks like here with the Porsche, and that's the Reverend Racing there in front of him. Oh, and a car backwards in the wall. See, as you mentioned, David, it's very, it might seem like a sprint race, but it's an endurance race, and you have to finish.
Yeah, the turns come up quickly, and this is a street circuit. It's concrete barriers. Keep your wits about you. Keep it clean.
Yeah, really, there's only a couple places where you can run off and not cause yourself any problems. Most of these corners, if you take too much curb, if you turn in too early or even too late, probably going to get some wall. And these walls don't move. Typically, it's going to be a race ender.
No, the walls are definitely harder than the race car, and when there's contact, it's the race car that gives way.
So you can see here, Jeff Tyler's catching Paul Morris, who's catching Warren Pickering.
Paul Morris, one of our guys from Reverend Racing.
Tyler got in the wall. He's going to go ahead and pit now.
And that's a very tricky turn, that second to last turn, because the wall sucks you in on the outside. The racetrack goes a little bit off camber. It's very easy to find yourself heading towards that wall.
And Jeff was in the practice session last night, and I stopped in to talk to the drivers. And he told me that's the corner that him and the boys were working on the most, that he had the most concerns about. I thought it would be turn 2. He told me it was 2 turns from the finish, the penultimate corner, that he was most scared of, and with good reason. It jumped out and bit him here in the race.
Yeah, turn 2 has a massive bump. Okay, look out, manage the car over this bump in turn 2. Straighten the steering out a little bit and wait to get on the throttle for that bump. I think the second to last turn, I think that one's a bit more of a trap. It suckers you in. It doesn't look as dangerous. And you let your guard down and it bites. So both of our classes...
So we see Wyatt Gooden there on the screen. He's really starting to stretch it out a bit here, it looks like.
Both of our class leaders have made a little bit of a gap, and Wyatt Gooden is moving himself up overall compared to some of these Daytona prototypes. He's now up into, 6th overall in this race, in that class.
Right, and he's using Julian almost as a protection mechanism to keep Jorge away. Or no, that's Blake. That's Blake that is running their second in the Ford, the orange Ford back there.
Yeah, that's Fusion Sim Racing.
and here we go.
On web service. Yep, it looks like Blake might get by. Blake Neck, a very fierce GT driver. I've raced against him at the Nürburgring before, and that's something he knows something about. And there's bumps and off-camber corners around the Nürburgring, and that's a track that can bite you, and you've got to treat every lap with respect. So if he has the same mentality and a good setup here, he's really not letting Wyatt get too far away from him.
No, I have to give him major props. He's able to keep him right there in sight, especially once he had that car in between them. I was worried that might let Wyatt get away, but for the sake of a good race, and as we can see there on screen, the last lap, Blake was he matched his pace, but the lap before that, Blake was actually quicker. So
yeah, you saw Blake get a better run.
Blake using up all the track though there on the exit 2. I think he might have touched the wall. Cameron, can we
he
go
might
back
have given
to
it
the
a
second
scrape.
place runner? Let's see here. So what it would be on the passenger side? It looks clean. Maybe it was just a visual anomaly. Yeah, I guess he didn't hit. Man, it looked like he did. He got as close as you can, as old Greg would say, it's as close as you can get.
This time of year, localized in Belle Isle?
But as old Greg would say, as close as you can get without getting your eyes wet. Okay, here we go. We see Julian trying to take the fight to Blake down the backstretch, which is actually, well, similar to a straightaway at the Nürburgring. Not exactly straight, but it is a full throttle section. So to the drivers, it's as good as a straightaway.
Yes, Julian Rambold from Team V10R. Look, I think where he sits in his class, he might be faster on a good lap, but he's probably relatively content to not give Blake Neck too much troubles. Because he's now 2 cars between him and the next car in his class up ahead of him. And then further back, I think Clement Andrew has not fallen off the lead lap, but that's a significant gap. So back down to the GTE class.
Yeah, this is a battle for 5th and 6th in class, I believe.
Now, you might think these are teammates, but I think we've just got a tribute going on.
Yeah, so Alexander Klink racing for Team Hujas. Oh, ooh, as the DP kind of slowed up there. So Waylon there with the black hood, you can tell him apart from Klink, who is... Oh, no. Yeah, I guess that is no hood. So, yeah, Waylon, though, with the red mirrors, or are they both running Andrew Fawcett design paints? It looks like they are.
I believe that to be one of them, yeah. But they're having... Well, this is multi-class racing on a street circuit because they've got that Daytona project.
Oh, and there we go. He turned him around. He dove in there. The Waylon just... William Waylon, that wasn't a place to pass. And he stuck his nose in there, and the DP paid the price for it. But you might expect that when you're getting caught by a car that's in technically the slower class and it doesn't have a hood. You should sometimes maybe think he doesn't care so much about his body panels.
Yeah, it maybe should have been a warning sign. I think Clement was in a race with these guys, but he was the faster class car. It remains to be seen whether he should have been in that fight. Well, look, I think the pit window is open for both of these classes. I'm not sure I'm seeing anyone who's taken advantage of that yet. I think most people are going to think track position is key and stick it out there.
So this car that you see just ahead of this battle is actually not for position. Even though it's a GTE, it's on a different lap. So it looks like Waylon has a little bit more pace than Clink. I feel like he's able to step away from him here. Clink not able to quite hold the bumper. Gap now out to 1.1 seconds.
And this is a real driver's track, the kind of circuit where a driver can make a real difference.
Yeah, even with missing body panels, although they will get up to, 150, 160 miles, most of the corners are, less than 100 miles an hour. So the aero isn't near the factor that it is at some of the higher speed, higher cornering tracks, higher speed corners. I'll get it out eventually.
There's a lot of stop-start 90-degree corners, especially in this sector of the lap they're just coming up to here. Yeah. And then you've got that very technical fountain section. That's not a high-speed, high-downforce section. It requires a lot of knowledge in how to rotate the car, and also maybe a setup that works in the low speed, in the bumpier stuff. Then around the circuit, there's also some changes in the track surface. So they're on a concrete section here where William Whalen is, and then there's some other bits that are bitumen, and the grip level changes, and you've got to adjust to that. And that's what's separating some of our better drivers from the drivers that need a little bit more practice and experience.
So we see Clink falling down the running order. Did he pit?
Yeah, I can't see him on circuit right now. I'm not sure what's happened to Alexander Clink.
All right, well, that's... let's go and look at 17th and 18th. Well, that's not a battle for position, I guess. Let's see, where...
I'm interested to see
a good battle is 4th and 5th. Morton and Morton. Philip Morton and Benjamin Morton. The Salty Twins.
Someone will undoubtedly correct me on this, but I'm not sure there's a relation.
Well, one's from Michigan and one's from Australia, New Zealand, so... I would lean towards probably not.
Well, I was actually having a chat with Philip Morton yesterday around the paddock, getting some of his thoughts and hearing some stories from him. He's Club Australia, but he is from Surrey in England, and he's a man who sounds like it as well. But I think very proud to call Australia home. And I don't particularly know Benjamin Morton that well, but they're having a very good lap. And Benjamin has the run, goes to the inside in turn 3. This is a key passing place, a big braking zone.
Oh,
Does he
very
get it
nice.
Done? I think so. He's got the cleaner looking car to my eye, does Benjamin Morton. And maybe that's made a difference in the straight line, made a difference to his confidence, and he's made that move stick.
Yeah, and I would say from where I sit, his line just looks a little tidier. Philip just seems to be a little bit more on the edge, bouncing around, where Benjamin seems to be able to hold a smoother line. His car doesn't seem to move around. It almost looks like he's moving slower, although he's going quicker. And here they come.
And that's
into
the art of a street circuit. That's the art of a street circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's just part of whenever fast sometimes looks slow, because everything's just going just right, and it's sometimes whenever you're sawing at the wheel, you're taking time out of it. So very good. He's holding a pretty wheel right now, and he's up to 4th. Let's see how it's probably about 6 seconds up the road, Christopher Wheel, and I think he can do it. Pace wise, he's a little bit slower, but let's see what he can do now that he's out front. Maybe he can string together a couple of quick ones here.
Yeah, I think we've seen that the track position is also very important. That for the Daytona prototypes, there is a lot of GT traffic, and where that traffic falls for them on their lap could have 3-4 seconds a lap difference easily. We saw, who was that, getting impatient in the fountain section, and there's really, unless they hop skip and jump out of your way. There's really no way to get past another class car through that fountain section. There's 4 or 5 turns that you just have to wait.
Yeah, that was the 23, and he's from Canada, so that's not something you expect to see out of a Canadian, especially Canadian with a 4.99 safety rating. So maybe it was just a rare mistake, because looking at his stats and the club he races for, that just seems very unlike him.
Yeah, unexpected for sure. We've got about 1 minute and we'll be hitting our halfway mark of this race. I think there is 16
there we go.
laps
Someone
to go.
diving on pit road.
Philip Morton coming down the pits, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yes. It's got a bit of a tribute to Peugeot on that Daytona prototype. I quite like it. Some nice colors, and it's coming up to Le Mans season, isn't it? I'm excited for that as well.
Oh, but he overshoots the box, goes through, and then backs up too far, pulls it ahead. I can see the crew starting to work damage, popping out some of the panels here. He's revving it up. Looks like they must be on still popping out panels. Must be on a fuel only. I don't see them raising the car for tires.
Nope, it doesn't look like it's up on the jacks.
I'm thinking I would have taken tires. Just as someone who's raced this car many, many hours in long races, it eats up the tires. And on a course like this, I can only imagine it is doubly as bad. So I think I would have taken the few seconds, maybe 3 or 4 seconds more, to go ahead and take those tires.
Yeah, I think you might have been able to take those tires while the crew were popping out some more of the panels and sticking some tape on. People do say that the Belle Isle circuit's rather abrasive and that it can wear through the tires relatively quickly.
So we're back here with the GT leader. All right, so we're gonna go. Let's go on board here for a lap with the GTE leader. This is coming by the pit entrance, coming around to the flag stand, and we're just gonna let you ride along.
Great lap on board there from Wyatt Gooden, leading the GTE class, coming up to some traffic in his class, and Blake Neck is right there, not giving him too much respite. I hope you enjoyed the sound of that screaming, naturally aspirated flat 6. That's one of the things people absolutely bring up with this car. It's got a sound like no other, and that sound is also loud.
Yeah, and it does sound like no other in person. It has such a unique sound. It's almost ear splitting.
As Alex Coffard there gets out of the way of this lead battle in class, and that's benefited Blake Neck a little bit. He is right there.
Yeah, he's Blake Neck all over Wyatt, and I'm glad to see this. You did a great job of promoting a race here. You brought out some great competition, and even though a pro showed up this old boy is not going to let him run away with it. So Blake running the Ford, which, you know, has been out for a little while, but was a world beater when it first came out.
Yeah, exactly. Not a slouch of a race car. Lots of development put into that. Lots of good drivers get behind the wheel of it. And sometimes you just got to throw 4 of them at Le Mans and see what happens. But you're right. There's a lot of people in this race here just trying it out, you know, having some fun. But these two that we're watching, Whitegood and Blake Neck, honestly, 2 of some of the best GT drivers that iRacing has to offer.
Yeah, and Blake Neck, 4/10 of a lap faster that last lap. So he's not messing around. I would think if I'm Neck's crew, I call him in this time. Let's pit this time, try to set a couple laps, see if we can jump Gooden. I don't know that we can pass him on track, so let's try to pass him in the pits.
Yeah, that's a potential strategy call that Fusion Sim Racing could take. It's definitely within their pit window.
We're definitely going to have to pit soon. It's 15 minutes left. It's amazing how close these guys get to the wall every turn.
Through that third to last corner there, Whitegooden got a little bit of a slide on, and Blake Neck still right there with him.
Well, Blake Neck continuing just to cover what Gooden does. Gooden up over the Chevrolet bumps.
Yep, those bumps brought to you by the new Corvette ZR1. And the wall brought forward towards that safety car. But back to this action.
Yes, the RSR, you can see the new grass in the way that it's the grass damage is back there right after turn. I guess that's turn 3. After the long straightaway, all the cars have ran wide, kind of torn up the turf. You can see the tire tracks. That's a new feature in iRacing, and I have to say that really does add to the immersion.
It looks good. If you're driving close behind someone and they go a little bit wide and kick up some of that grass, flies right up onto your windshield. It gets right up in your face, and you know about it.
Here we go through this tight fountain section. All right, back on to Shoreline Drive.
And I believe by my rough numbers, these cars should be able to go 30 to 35 minutes on their fuel. So they're not going to need to pit this time by, but you'd think the strategy call would make sense to try something different, try and undercut, get into a different spot on the track and see if the traffic works better for you. Try something if you're Blake Neck.
Yeah, well, Gooden picked up the pace there. Neck ran a 27, which is what Gooden has been running, but Gooden picked it up to a 26.8 that time, so able to go just about 0.2 of a lap quicker. Looks like Blake had a good sector 1 to close that gap back here. So I think this traffic here might help Blake. I think it'll help him more than it'll help Wyatt initially.
And
Depends
second
on how
place in our
quick
Daytona prototypes has just come onto pit lane. That's Mike Young. Ronnie Nunez stays out in the lead, but that's a call we've seen to bring Mike Young into the pits. I don't remember how close he was to the leader, but, you know, it's time for Daytona prototype pit stops, it looks like.
He was about 15 seconds back. So Morton, both the Mortons have been on pit road now.
It looks like a very quick splash, no tires for Mike Young.
Oh yeah, I would expect if you've ran this long on those tires, not worth changing them now.
No, I think the alternative strategy would have been to pit around halfway.
Yeah, I believe if you were going to take tires, that you would need to pit within 5 minutes of halfway.
We didn't really see that. We just saw people staying out and making the track position.
So Ronnie Nunez, man, he really hangs it out. But that, I guess, is how you make the lap time around here. Wow. So we see Ronnie there working it through 1 and 2, catching this Rev Racing Ford.
They have a few different models out there for Reverend Racing. They had a Daytona prototype, they've got a Porsche, and they've got a Ford. Guess this is the Motor City, and they're just hedging their bets.
Yeah, well, maybe whichever manufacturer gives them the best deal at the time.
Yep, they've got a V8, they've got a flat 6, they've got a turbo V6. They're just any configuration. Let's see if it works at Belle Isle.
Yeah, well, it works for Roger Penske. He's partners with almost every manufacturer, so.
And everyone wants to be partnered with Roger Penske.
So it's a good problem to have. If you can, anytime you can be like Roger, that's a good day. So Ronnie Nunez here through the. I think this is one of the trickier parts of the track. Not that I felt like I would crash through here, but I just felt like I wasn't able to get all out of the car. It's just turning, almost like a smaller version of Sochi.
Yeah, you got that. Yep, flashes the headlights, gets it done. Very, very well done by the traffic there. Yeah, there's that bit towards the end of the fountain section. You've got sort of 2 lefts, leads into a very tight right-hander. As Ronnie Nunez comes down onto pit road this time. And you sort of feel like you can't carry as much speed as you want, and it's difficult to brake while you're doing that left-hand turn.
Yeah, so we will get to see here as Christopher Wheel will be trying to jump the leader here. 30 seconds back, he was able to get ahead of Mike Young during the pit cycle. So yeah, Ronnie, looks like Ronnie's back out.
And it looks like Ronnie had a pit stop gap over Christopher Weil.
Yes. So, yep. Sorry about that, folks. I was looking at the screen wrong.
It just shows how dominant of a performance it's been in your Daytona prototype category by Ronnie Nunez of Talk Freak Racing.
Yeah, so Benjamin Morton is... I don't know that he'll be able to... I think Christopher Veal might be able to hold on to that 3rd place.
Yep. What's the gap? Yeah. See, the pit lane limit is very slow here compared to some other tracks. It's 40 miles an hour. Feels like you're crawling, but the pit lane's not especially long, and the drivers are going to have a pretty quick stationary time in this, especially we've seen a few of them only taking fuel.
Yeah, so it looks like the pit lane takes about 28 seconds, and right now the gap back to Benjamin Morton is at 30 seconds. So might be a good time to call in that 41 car, get him in while we can still come out with a 2-second lead. Is that what they're going to do? It looks like that's what they did.
Yep, that number 41 car comes onto the lane.
I think they might be watching the broadcast. Here we go, though. With a great battle, we can see Ryan Dredger and Warren Pickering. Ooh, is this going to get spicy? Ooh, is the brakes locked up, touches the curb. Oh, he gets him the over-under. Does he look underneath? It's just not a passing zone. And so here we go. I think Warren's trying to set him up. I don't know that he's going to be able to get it done here, but I'm thinking into turn 3. If I was Warren, I'm setting him up for a pass coming out of 2. Oh, nope, but he dives onto pit road. He's going to pass him through pit strategy. That'll be an exciting
7
battle
minutes to go. It's we're seeing those GTEs on pit lanes, so that's looks like about how far they can go. Warren Pickering, another driver for Fusion Sim Racing, the Amazon Web Service sponsored car.
And Blake Neck pit that last time, so it'll be interesting to see here with Wyatt Gooden whenever he pits. I think he'll pit now. I don't think he'll want to waste any time.
Huge burnout for Warren Pickering. as Shay Adam likes to say, nice burnout off pit road. So normally they do the burnouts when they've got new tyres. I don't think I saw Warren Pickering take any new tyres with 7 minutes to go.
And Gooden's on the lane. So we'll keep an eye on him. Oh, all right. Now we're back. We're riding along, watching Blake Neck. Not riding along, but we're watching from the external cameras. One of my favorite cameras, the one down low in the wall there. As he comes through the penultimate corner.
Wyatt Gooden is rolling through the pit lane. Blake Neck is coming across the start-finish line now. It's going to be a little bit close. I think Wyatt Gooden has it at the moment. But Blake Neck will have a good run down that straight, and he might get close.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be close enough. Blake's giving him a good run today, but Wyatt Gooden is quite the competitor.
Yep, I'm seeing a 6-second stationary time for Wyatt Gooden and 5 seconds for Blake Neck, but it wasn't enough. They're separated by a teeny bit more than they were.
Yeah, that black stripe on his bumper was earning his pay today with those in-laps and out-laps. So, a good battle that we thought we might see spicing up should happen with, I think, Ryan Dredger will be pitting here soon. And I think he's going to come out and be battling with Warren. Or not with Warren. Is that right? So, David, do you want to give us a run through the field?
We're very close to finish, but yep, let's do that. So, leading Daytona prototype, as he has done all race from pole, Ronnie Nunez, Mike Young 11 seconds or 12 seconds back from him. Then further back, it's Christopher Weil and Benjamin Morton. Lionel Fries and Philip Morton still out on track and running even a bit further down. Leading our GTE class, Wyatt Gooden for Radicals Online, Blake Neck for Fusion Sim Racing. Then there's Ryan Dredger, Warren Pickering, Paul Morris, William Whalen, Lyndon Swabby, Brian Certain, Alexander Coffard, Dexter Castro, James L. Harris, and Brian Newton still running.
Well, this race isn't over, but I've seen quite a bit of good racing tonight. Seen a few things that were questionable, but overall, I'm very impressed with the field.
Definitely was very hectic at the start of this race. It's settled down a little bit, I think.
Yeah, well, it had to whenever we lost so many cars there in that opening crash.
Yeah, that would have thinned the GTE field a little bit.
But we've got about 3 minutes to go. Timing and scoring is saying 4 more laps.
Yep, right on 3 minutes to go. Ronnie Nunez is your leader in Daytona Prototype. He's got to have 3 more to go when he crosses the line now. That now.
Can we take a look at the battle for 7th and 8th overall?
Is that Ryan Dredger and Warren Pickering? Yeah. Pickering taking a different car than his teammate Blake Neck, trying out the Porsche here, as is most popular.
Yep, you can see the similarity in the paint job with the orange and white.
And that's the interesting thing we've got at this race is we've got a mix of American racers, and a lot of people have made the long flight from Australia to be here as well. And that Fusion Sim Racing Orange and White will be very familiar to a lot of people following the Australian series, including V8 Scops and Oceanic Sprint Championship and others like that, and might be new to a lot of the people here at Belle Isle.
And so the reason I wanted to tune into this is this gap is getting smaller. Warren Pickering has been catching Ryan about, well, last lap it was over a second. So I think that he might be able to get around him here before the end. Oh, and there's DP in the wall just ahead.
Yeah, Matt Hollabau, and he gets right out of the way for this. Oh, he's in a very awkward spot there.
I'm afraid that ended up costing Warren some time.
And Matt was trying to stay out of people's way and get back to the pit lane, but he was in exactly the wrong spot on the exit of that corner for Warren Pickering. And unfortunately, that's not helped his momentum. He gets wobbly through turn 2 as well.
Yeah, and the gap's starting to open up now. That's why they always tell you in the drivers' meetings, you know, just run your line, let the other cars get around you. So I don't think we're going to see a pass here. Might as well go back to our leader. We've only got 30 seconds left in the race. So Ronnie Nunez, the predictor's thinking this will be the last one, but he might be able to beat it back for one more lap. He's hanging it all out.
The white flag in the air last time, so either the white flag or the checker flag will come out this time. He's got 10 seconds. We'll see what timing and scoring think, whether he gets the checkered flag or we get one more lap.
Not gonna get there. That's our race. Oh, nope. Timing and scoring is saying one more. Okay. Wow, that was close.
I think maybe they didn't bring out the white flag last time, and because they didn't, when he comes by this time, they weren't going to bring out the checkered flag. They gave the white flag.
So Ronnie Nunez really being unchallenged here with about a 14-second lead over Mike Young.
Warren Pickering back within a second of Ryan Dredger, though. Come down towards turn 3. Hopefully he's getting a little bit of a draft there. How dare do he brake late? Yeah, about what we'd expect, but close through this rather technical section. Lots of 90-degree left-rights here.
It's down to 0.4 of a second. He might be able to pass him here on the backstretch.
He'll have to get a good run here. Gets
he got a good run through there.
Throttle open, maybe graze the wall, but he's looking. He goes to the inside. There it is.
Could he be out of
fuel? Maybe he didn't plan on that one extra lap that Ronnie Nunez made the field do. Maybe Warren Pickering has run out of fuel on the last lap.
Wyatt Gooden. Did Wyatt Gooden have to pit?
He's on the lane. He took tires as well there. Wow.
Wyatt Gooden had to pit. He didn't plan for the extra lap. Does that mean he gave up the race to Blake Neck? He did.
Blake Neck is still out. That Ford can sip, and maybe he's saved enough through the race. Maybe he's just got what it takes to get to the end here.
Wow. Gooden won't be happy with the crew shorting him on fuel.
So Ronnie Nunez has taken the checkered flag in the win for the Daytona prototype. I'd like to watch Blake Neck now. I want to see if he's got enough fuel to bring that into the lead and take the checkered flag in the win for the GTE class.
I'm sure the crew is telling him just soft on the pedal here. Soft on the pedal.
And he's an experienced driver, and I know in the cockpit of that car, they've got lots of dials. They can move with the fuel map, with the conservation. If he needs to, he can put it on lean as it goes and splutter on the rags to the end. And wow.
There he is.
Wyatt Gooden led most of the race, but congratulations to Blake Neck getting the strategy right, saving what it takes. Wow. So please run us down through our Daytona prototype field as they finished, Alex.
Sure. It's Ronnie Nunez is your winner. And second place was Mike Young. Place was Christopher Wheel. Fourth place was Benjamin Morton. Fifth place, Philip Morton. Sixth place, Lionel Freeze. And seventh place, Clement Ardrew.
Once again, congratulations to our podium, Ronnie Nunez, Mike Young, and Christopher Weil. Let's look at GTE. Well, it was nail-biting on the last lap when Wyatt Gooden had to stop for more fuel and let through our leader and our winner, Blake Neck. Ford GT taking the win here over the far more popular Porsche 911 RSR and maybe better sounding. So that's Blake Neck, your winner, Wyatt Gooden second, rounding out the podium, a good run from Warren Pickering, and then Paul Morris, Ryan Dreger, William Varlin, Lyndon Swaby, Brian Certain, James L. Harris, and Brian Newton.
Yeah, really strong showing by the Aussies there. The Blake Neck and Warren Pickering. Very impressive run against a strong field that included Wyatt Gooden, the pro driver.
Well,
and not to mention
up.
Alexander Crawford also in the field. So.
Yes, we can be biased and say shout out to our guys, Alexander Coffard, Alex Klenk, Jeff Tyler, and those guys in the field. Thanks to them for showing up. And thanks to all of our drivers who showed up for this Sports Car Classic, the first of two parts of the HJ Showcase from Belle Isle. We're going to take a break. We'll be back soon in about 10 minutes with the IndyCar Grand Prix here on these very same streets. I'm David Haynes, Alex Albert also in the booth. Be back soon. Thank you for tuning in.
Mahalo.
Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of the HJ Showcase from Belle Isle, brought to you by Team Huge Ass. Well, this is the 40-lap IndyCar Grand Prix. The drivers will be just finishing qualifying now, and soon we'll be able to run you down the starting order.
I just want to, while we have a minute here, I want to go ahead and welcome in Tom Ellison to the booth. Tom is going to join us here for the IndyCar broadcast.
Thank you, chaps. Happy to be here on this wonderful evening for motorsport. We enjoyed the GTE race immensely, and now we're looking forward to some single-seater action around the wonderful Belle Isle circuit of Michigan.
One thing I've noticed, Alexander Klink, our current pole sitter, who was only able to muster mid-pack speed in the last race, is now looking like a front runner in the Indy cars. It looks like this higher downforce cars must suit him a little better. And so qualifying's finalized. So let's go ahead and run us down through the field, Tom.
I'm just loading into the session now. I'll be up to in a second.
So on pole, we're going to have Alexander Klink. Second place will be Ross Rizzo. Starting next to him will be Ronnie Nunez and Marshall Stanley. On the third row will be Mike Young and Benjamin Perez. On the fourth row will be Arjuna Kankapati and Thomas Glad. On the fifth row will be Benjamin Morton and Matthew Holmes. Benjamin Morton, who we also saw in our previous race. Back there on the sixth row will be Alexander Cofford and James Harris. That's the final cars to qualify. And I think that might be all the starters that we're going to have.
Yeah, interesting to see young Alexander Klink on pole there. Ronnie Nunez, of course, winning the DP class in the previous race, only managing to secure third place on the grid. Some have called Klink a bit of a downforce noob. I think that's personally an unfair characterization. He's just damn quick in these single-seater high downforce cars. So it's been a good race here.
Yeah, so we've got 30 seconds left before the pace car will start rolling, and our leader, Alex Klink, will have command of the field once it pulls in. So as part of this doubleheader, we have some drivers who've jumped out of their sports cars, be it the Daytona Prototype or GTE, and jumped into these single-seater American IndyCar Dallara IR18s. So some of the people making that jump across, Alexander Klink, Ronnie Nunez, for example, Mike Young,
William Whalen.
Yep, and then we've got some drivers who didn't take part in the first race and are in this second part of the race, namely Ross Rizzo from Australia.
So I have my eye, I don't know who you guys are watching. It's going to be a short pace lap here, but I have my eye on Warren Pickering. He's starting in the back. He ran the last race. He had some good pace. Didn't qualify here. Must not have had time. He'll be starting there towards the back, but...
Yeah, 22 cars around here are no joke, and we're away.
Klink guns it early. I think that's a very good strategy for how chaotic this first couple corners could be. Hopefully he keeps it clean over the bump. Does he? He does. Bit of patience.
Yeah, smart move there to hit the throttle as soon as the pace car went in and try and gain middle speed. But Ross Rizzo is coming back at him now, not letting him get too far away. This is going to be a tight battle for the lead in this early lap.
Alexander Cofford taking an unusual strategy and just passing through the pit lane on the first lap to avoid the potential carnage.
Well, long race, 40 laps, that's a safe strategy, I think, if you ask me. Gives you a different line through turn 2. Maybe he thought that was safer.
Is there any strategy benefit for maybe taking fuel on lap 1?
Did he stop or did he just pass through, Alex?
He just passed through. And my pick, Warren Pickering, just went straight off there at the end of the straightaway on lap 1. And huge crash.
Alex Klink there, touching the wall midway through the lap there. I think he may have some suspension damage on the left-hand side of the car. It looked like a fairly hefty hit, so be anticipating here Rizzo trying to size him up for a move.
Ross Rizzo from Trick Sim Sport is your reigning two-time Oceanic Sprint Championship in the GT3. So interesting to see him over here at Belle Isle in an Indy car, but pace is pace, and he's got it. He's looking for the lead, but being patient, which I think is going to be important and might pay off in this 40-lap race.
I think that might have just been some netcode that you saw.
No, he's in the wall, and Ross Rizzo is into the lead. Alexander Klenk has just tapped the wall again.
Yeah, it may have been netcode the first time, but it certainly wasn't the second time there. Alexander Klenk running wide out of the right-hander and hitting the wall fairly hard. Loses such damage on the left front. Be interested to see if he pits here to repair that damage.
Oh, locked it up into that turn at the end of the straight, and that might be
just sitting still.
That might be that for now. Waiting for the field, I think.
Yeah, one more coming by here.
That makes your leader, Ross Rizzo, second place, Marshall Stanley, and third place, your overall winner in the Sports Car Classic, Ronnie Nunez, looks like he wants to get into second.
Yeah, Nunez here sizing up Mike Young. Sizing up Marshall Stanley there in second place. And I expect to see Ronnie putting some moves on here. He's not
here we go.
Afraid to stick a nose down there. And
did they touch?
Well, clean driving, I think.
Clean driving from both drivers there, but certainly Marshall gave him all the room in the world.
And look who's here, Mike Young.
Marshall Stanley, bit of a cork in the bottle there. Ronnie Nunez looking to get past, and then behind them Mike Young and Kankapati. So keeping it clean enough, Marshall Stanley, but the pace is acting as a little bit of a cork.
Well, I mean, once you're forced to go too wide and defensive through that series of corners there at the start of the lap, you're going to drop several seconds to any cars in front. It's just nature of racing. But very clean driving there from both competitors. I was impressed by the standard of respect shown between the two.
And Reverend Racing with another strong showing here in the finale race. Kankapati is a Reverend Racing car, correct?
Junior Kankapati.
That is correct.
Car number 7 sitting in 5th place at the moment. Right on the back of this pack here that are bottled up now behind Marshall in 2nd place, looking to make some moves. But Marshall sticking to his lines, hitting his marks, and it's tough to pass around here. Yeah.
Nunez is a strong driver. But Oh no!
The commentators cursed there, sadly, to Marshall Stanley. Ran a little bit wide, tagged a wall there, and that
Nunez got a piece of
it. Surprised Nunez with a little bit of drop in speed, and he ran into the back of him. So damage on the front wing for Nunez here. That'll be potentially some damage that needs to be repaired. And Marshall Stanley dropping off the pack here. I think he will definitely need to pit for some repairs.
Give us some education on the fuel numbers here.
So that was what I was going to bring up, is that I think this will be a 2-stop race, and the second stop was going to be a little bit of a splash. I think some of these drivers could pit now and still make it to the end on the 2-stop strategy. Because it was looking like about 1.2, 1.3 tanks of fuel you were going to need to add. Maybe you'll need to run another lap or so to be certain. Oh, big into the wall. Mike Young, is that?
That's Mike Young, car number 21, coming out of turn 2 there, and straight into the wall.
See, he has Chevrolet badging on it.
The kiss of death, unfortunately.
And here we go as the replay as they come around turn 2. He hits the bump, the Corvette bump, and just noses it in. And, well, now he's back in the pits.
Yeah, a lot of horsepower in these cars.
So now we're back with our leader, or with Nunez. Not our leader. This is 2nd place. Ronnie Nunez we're watching here. Being chased by...
start spinning up the rear tires, they keep spinning up, and then you're going into the wall.
So let's go through our field. Let's go check out our leader. All right, he's coming around here towards the start-finish line. Ross Rizzo out of Australia. There he goes, across the line.
He's setting some great pace here at the moment. Last lap was a 1:14.
Yeah.
And
So
here's what I think, and we'll run down the field in 1 second, but I think Ross Rizzo's decision to focus only on the IndyCar might be paying off. He looks just a little bit better prepared than the guys who were splitting their practice time between the sports cars and the open wheelers. He's got a 5-second gap. Over second place, here's my segue, Ronnie Nunez. Third place, Kankapati for Reverend Racing. Benjamin Morton making the switch into the open wheelers. Fourth place, William Varlan, also fifth. Sixth is Lionel Freese. Seventh, Benjamin Perez. Eighth, Marshall Stanley. Ninth, Lyndon Swaby. And 10th, Robert Elder. 11th, Alex Coffard. And the last car running, I think, is James L. Harris.
So Marshall Stanley, that last lap, did take the pit lane to take some repairs on his car following that brush with the wall, then take some fuel. So hopefully he's still on the track for the two-stop strategy. I wouldn't have lost too much time in taking that early stop.
I think if he can knuckle down, get some clean laps, I think the strategy will still work. He'll have one more stop to the end, see where he comes out. But yeah, obviously you're always going to lose some time anytime you have a brush with the wall.
And what's the fast repair situation in this race, Mr. Haynes?
Just one.
You get one shot hitting the wall. Of course, fast
I think a
repair-
lot of people are known in Detroit for having one shot, one opportunity.
That's where I was going with that. Marshall Stanley, they're spinning. Avoiding the wall there, but car number 5 there is around
Marshall
the
Stanley.
back half of the lap. He got on the power a little too hard, maybe some cold tires there following the pit stop, and looped it around. No contact with the barrier, but lost a few places, and was very polite in waiting for his opportunity to get it back the right direction and resuming the race.
Yeah, that was a very veteran move. Taking the patience to let the traffic go by, didn't hit anything, so nothing lost, nothing gained.
Yeah, and we'll see what it is this time, but last lap by, Ross Rizzo set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:13.6. That's some pretty blistering pace. I was watching the practice sessions, and anything in a 1:15 was a pretty quick lap. He goes a 1:14. Ooh, wow.
Avoiding there, Alexander Coffert, who was a slow car on track due to damage on the left rear.
And Stanley just spun again. Does anyone know if he's part crustacean? Because he just spun again, pulled a donut, and then took off. And there's someone else spinning.
Benjamin Perez, car number 9 there, running in 7th place up to that point, but he has heavy damage both to the front and rear of the car.
Oh, and here comes a huge S car. What's going on out there? Everyone has damage.
Maybe there's a car that's dropped some oil down there with an engine failure because they're...
Oh my god. Oh my god. Perez, was that the leader that he made contact with? It was. Ross Rizzo made contact. Here we got we're going to see a replay of it. And Perez straight in the wall, bounces out and is blocking the track when Ross Rizzo comes along, makes contact with his right front tire. Ross Rizzo, I have to believe, has a damaged right front. His wing is definitely bent. Probably about time to go ahead and pit.
Yeah, certainly a damaged front wing there. He is in the window as we've established, so maybe a smart move here to take the pit stop and take the repair. Ronnie Nunez now only 3.5 seconds behind and looking to take advantage of this damage here.
Nunez is also damaged, I believe. I think he's had contact.
It's that sort of place, apparently.
Well, street racing is tough.
Ronnie Nunez's nose went under Marshall Stanley at one point.
It did, yes, when Marshall hit the wall when they were battling for second place, that's right. I think that's where that damage came from. I don't think there's been any more contact since then. And he seems to be still on pace, like setting low 14s consistently since then. So maybe I think possibility here Nunez can take the lead.
I'm looking back through the field, and I had to go all the way back to third to find one that didn't have damage.
Junior Kankapati there, car number 7, still running very strongly. About a second off the pace of the 2 leaders, but undamaged car. And
Ross Rizzo on the lane.
Could well be
Yep.
survival as Ross Rizzo comes in.
All right,
Let's
so
see what work they can do to tidy
Yep.
up that front wing while they fuel and I presume add new tires, but we'll see.
And so, yep, they're on the jacks. It's going to take tires and fuel. Ooh, very quick stop.
And that
That
front
front
wing
wing
is
is looking.
placed.
Yep.
Yep,
Fast
they've
repair,
fitted a new
tires
one
and
on.
fuel.
That's important there that Ross has come out just ahead of James L. Harris, car number 14 there in 8th place. That's given him some fresh air ahead of him, and he can put the hammer down here with his freshly repaired car and not lose too much time to Nunez for when Nunez comes in.
Yeah,
I would
new
take
tires,
Nunez
take the lap to heat them up.
Let's see. Nunez, we got our eye on Nunez here with the live shot. He's coming around towards the pit entrance. I think if I was him, I'd want to pit this time, cover Rizzo.
Yes, the famous undercut, to use F1 terminology, but he chooses not to. Continuing on, maybe taking advantage of the fresh air that he has, maybe feeling that front wing damage is not slowing him down too much. Last time was a 14.037, so certainly on pace.
Yeah, and he might be using the traditional RIL strategy of that damage isn't worth a fast repair because I know there'll be more. So
Right.
he might be waiting till he tears up the other side of the car as well.
And there's something to be said for that strategy. You never know when there could be a more serious incident just around the corner.
Right.
So let's keep an
And-
eye here on what Ross can do on his first flying lap out of the pits. Now the tire's up to temperature. We'll compare his lap times with Nunez and see if there's going to be some tight work to be done in the pit.
So one of the best battles it looks like is Elder and Freeze. Or no, that's not Freeze right behind Elder. That's Mike Young. So that's not for position.
Yeah, Robert
could
Elder
just-
there, running in 5th place, car number 6. And Mike Young, who we saw have that incident early on in the race, now back in 8th position, lap down, but looking to make up some places and make up that lap back on Robert.
Yeah, he has the pace here. I think that it would be a good idea for Robert just to let him go. No need to get accidentally run over because your braking points are different. But he probably sees him just as a lap car and wonders why he's bothering him. So everyone's got their race to run.
Especially at circuits like this, there's no room really to make a mistake with lap traffic. You have to be very cautious, even if you're faster, but a lap down. There's no benefit to sticking your nose in somewhere where it doesn't belong.
Now, of course,
Well,
this is the IndyCar, so the drivers have got a number of push-to-passes to use during the race. But I think it's 10, and we've got 40 laps, so you'd have to spare and meter them out for an important use. But they could use them for an example like this.
And as we saw in the sports car race, there's really no good place to get out of the way, even when you're trying. We saw where the DP was slowing, trying to let the GTs ease through, and there was nowhere to go. He still got in the way.
So a potentially important part of the race coming up soon. Ross Rizzo, car number 784, running in 4th place. He's matching the lap times of our leader, Ronnie Nunez, who's yet to pit, but rapidly catching Benjamin Morton.
Yes.
3rd place.
Let's
These are
let's
cars
ride
on-
along. Let's ride along with Ross.
move there from Rizzo. That was really a very important pass there. Because Rizzo on a slightly different pit stop strategy to Morton here. And it was paramount that he could make that pass because he lost almost a second to Nunez on that lap. Nunez out front. And remember, Nunez was about 3 seconds behind Rizzo when Rizzo made his early stop. Oh, dear! Once again, the commentator's curse strikes as Rizzo gets on the power too early, straight into the barriers there, and he's had to tow to the pits.
Oh my gosh.
That's basically day done, Ross Rizzo, unfortunately.
Yeah, used his fast repair, and so I have to believe that's the end of the day. Man, what a great run. Came to an end so quickly.
Yeah, just as that battle was really starting to shape up, Roscoe's a little bit out of shape there, coming through the corner, and there's no room for error around here, the merciless concrete walls of Belle Isle.
Wow, so Benjamin Morton, after seeing that firsthand and getting lucky not to get caught up in it, I'm sure will be probably a little bit more careful going forward here. He knows that he's sitting pretty for a podium spot in this big race with maximum berries on the line. And he's, quite a ways back from our lead too. I think if I'm Benjamin Morton, I'm just going to try to ride here.
Yeah, Ronnie Nunez still out in front, and now the threat from Rizzo has been somewhat neutralized by that incident. I feel like he can now back off and still maintain a gap and stick to his strategy, and it's going to be fairly secure out there in front.
Yeah, he needs to keep it out of the wall. Hopefully the pit wall is talking to him, letting him know he has a pace advantage over second. No need to run too hard here. Ross Rizzo pushed just a little too hard trying to close that gap and paid for it. So
say that Ronnie Nunez goes his fastest lap of the race at 1:13.9. He starts lap 16. If he's going all out on the fuel, he's probably going to have to stop next time or the time after that. If he makes it to lap 20 of this 40-lap race, we'll know he's trying to save a bit of fuel and go for that one-stop strategy.
Which would be a very impressive drive given the lap times it has been running to this point, which have been the fastest of the field. If he's saving fuel at the same time, that would be truly masterful.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that either of the front two will be able to one-stop this race. Benjamin Morton might. Is a little off the pace. I don't know if it's just the setup, but he could be saving fuel.
It didn't seem likely that Ronnie Nunez was when he just goes and sets his fastest lap of the race that time by. So, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Nunez on the lane.
Race leader enters the pit lane, going to assume that it's going to be tires, fuel. We'll see if they do much about that front wing as well. Yes, Kankapati, of course, follows him in. Same strategy. That's interesting.
Let's keep an eye on that front wing to see if he gets it repaired. It may be wiser. It doesn't seem to be affecting his pace at all to keep the front wing, keep the fast repair in the locker. But it seems to have been replaced.
Well, yeah, but it was replaced at the end of the stop. I believe that might have been just a traditional wings change.
I agree. That could just have been iRacing optional repairs, saving the fast repair there for when he truly needs it. That's smart thinking there from iRacing to Ronnie Nunez.
Yeah, I think we've correctly called that one. That it took a close eye to catch that, but I believe that damage was repaired there at the end of the stop through the traditional mechanisms.
And that's not a bad call at all.
No, I think that's what you have to do, because what we saw happen to Rizzo. If Rizzo would not have used his fast repair, he would still be in this race.
And so Nunez had the slightly quicker pit stop that time by, but not massively different. Whoa! Keeps it out of the barrier. Very, very lucky for Ronnie Nunez. But those new tires, cold tires, he's just lit them up more than they could handle. And here comes Kankapati for Reverend Racing. He's through to the lead. That is a lead change for a mistake from Ronnie Nunez, but he stays in the race. He's going to have to be cautious.
Yeah, almost ready to crown Ronnie Nunez the king of Detroit. And then, wow, we should maybe we should only talk about cars that are no longer in the race.
That would be safer for all concerned, I think. But our new leader, Arjuna Kankapati.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Defending hard.
Here we go.
Yes.
Oh, man. I don't think there's any rule with how many moves you can make when you're trying to overtake. I know there is when you're being overtaken.
No, Kankapati there sticking. He made his one move to the inside and stayed religiously on that line. Absolutely fair driving there. Nunez here is anxious to get past.
Nunez tried inside and outside and back to the end.
I'm not sure if we can tell from the booth when they're using their push to passes, but I have to assume Nunez might have been on the button that time. He said, "Oh, I've made my mistake, but can I have the lead back, please?"
I think that's a safe bet. It looked like he had a massive closing speed there on Kankapati, but Arjuna is unfazed and now actually starting to put a little bit of a gap here through the twisty section in the middle of the lap.
There could be a difference in downforce levels between these two guys. Maybe Arjuna Kankapati for Reverend Racing has a higher downforce setup on.
Oh, here we go.
Quick again. Maybe Ronnie Nunez, Torque Freak Racing has a lower
wasting no
downforce.
time. He's wasting no time. Oh, but Kankapati not going to make it easy.
No, fair racing there from both participants. It was a good pass from Nunez on the brakes. I think he had a little nibble on the button again there down the pit straight and was able to make the move stick into T1.
Yeah, it's gutsy from Nunez. He wanted to make that pass and he wanted to make it quickly.
Kankapati still hanging tough though. Closing under braking. Here we go.
I think our commentator colleague there was on the money when he said there was a downforce difference between these two cars. Kankapati much faster through the infield section here at Belle Isle, and is able to stay with Nunez. Maybe not a bad idea to keep with him and see if he makes another mistake.
They're coming up on Robert Elder, who is a lap down. Let's see how far he goes out of his way for the leaders. Yep, pulls to the inside, lets both of them through. The race continues. Good job, Robert Elder. Good heads-up driving to know who's coming up behind him and just steer clear and run his own race.
Yeah, I'm thinking that if I'm Kankapati, I try to stick with him. Stay right on him through the tight stuff, pressure him, make him think I'm going to make a move, make him drive faster through the areas of the circuit where he's less comfortable. Because he's not going to be able to pass him the easy way on the straightaways. So force the car in front into a mistake. Oh, and
pressure can do a lot here in these twisty confines of the concrete jungle of Michigan.
I heard Nunez breathing the throttle there coming onto this back straightaway. The car was bouncing over the bumps and he had to breathe the throttle a couple times.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. He's pushing hard to stay here with Nunez, but Ronnie's managed to pull a little bit of a gap here on this lap. We may see him try to establish a firmer lead in the next few laps.
So we'll have a look at their lap times as they both cross the line. This time, first Ronnie Nunez and then Kankapati. Gap is 1.5 seconds, so Nunez crosses the line. Whoa, blistering lap, a 1:13.7. That's his fastest lap, and also the fastest lap of the race. Only a 1:14.6. Still a relatively good lap from Kankapati, but Nunez putting the hammer down. 1:13.7 and putting the throttle down with too much steering input, manages to correct that half slide, but the gap he just pulled with the fastest lap of the race, gone. That's
pushing too hard. That is pushing too hard. Tom, as an endurance racer, I know that you know what I'm talking about. There's 9 tenths, there's 10 tenths, and then there's just too damn hard.
Yeah, and that's not the way to win a motor race. It looks great for the cameras, it looks great for the fast lap, but if you push hard, especially around these streets of Michigan where the concrete walls are so close, then you're going to come a cropper, and that's not the way to win a motor race.
And it's very bumpy here. This course is exposed. Parts of this course is exposed to the weather. Parts of it they do cover with tarps and soil in the winter to try to protect it, but it gets very cold here, and with the frost heave, These expansion joints, it's a, it's a race course, but it's a bumpy one.
It reminds me of my favorite aerodrome in Florida at Sebring, where the bumps are as much of a feature and characteristic of the track as the corners and the non-existent gradients. So it remains to be seen. This is going to be a long race here. We still have 18 laps to go to the flag, and Nunez here not getting away. Fastest lap followed by 2 seconds off the pace due to that error. If you can stay consistent, maybe it's in the bag, but Kankapati here staying right with him.
Yeah, I think Arjuna is smart to just run his pace. He was the fastest car on the track last lap, but he's a 115. I think he just runs 115. If that's what he's comfortable running, run that pace and let Ronnie Nunez go out and do his thing. It's been proven that Arjuna is much more under control, it appears. He might not be quite as raw pace, but I think it's going to be safer, and I think that's what will pay off in the end.
That comes back to our point about endurance racing. And indeed any racing. Arjuna, if he's sitting at 9/10, he's not pushing the car, he's not stressing the mechanicals, but he's setting consistent lap times. I mean, that last time was a 1:14.3. That's not slow, but it's under control, and it's steady, and it's patient, and all he needs to do is sit there and wait for the mistake.
Ronnie Nunez fastest lap a 1:13.726. That lap a 1:13.727, thousandth of a second slower. So he's back on that pace, but hopefully learn something.
Yeah, and we see Nunez run it all the way out to the grass and all the way to the concrete walls, climb it up onto the curbs, throw up a little grass. Like you said, Tom, looks great for the cameras, but I have to believe it's just not worth the risk, because just a little too much curb and then it's just a little too much wall. And actually any amount of wall is a little too much wall.
And even there through the infield section, you could see him grabbing a brake, grabbing a curb, and just he's pushing hard, and he's very talented and very quick. But this is a high risk strategy he's playing at the moment.
Yeah, well, the only way you can win both races is to win the first one, and he's done that. So now he's going to try to win both of them. And I don't blame him. I'm sure he's pushing hard because he's the only guy that can win them both tonight.
And what a great honor that would be to win both races of the Asia Showcase for Belle Isle.
I think that gets you an automatic bid into the next one. Am I right, Mr. Haynes?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. I think we've seen a lot of drivers in the first race and in this race be very welcome to have back.
I wouldn't want you to think that we're making up rules as we go along, but I think that any winner of a previous race is certainly going to give me preferential treatment for entry to the next one.
Well, the commissioner should always have some discretion.
And if you've won before, why wouldn't you want to come back?
Exactly. This is fun for all the family here. As Matthew A. Holmes gets in the way a little bit of Kankapati through the infield section.
Oh, yeah, that's disappointing to see.
It's just a tough place to pass.
Yeah.
He let Nunez pass okay, and then was just unable to find a gap at a place to safely let Kankapati through. And that would have held up Arjuna a little bit, cost him a couple of seconds. But I don't think you can blame either driver there.
Nah, there's nothing you could do. It's just a timing type of thing. In a perfect world, he would have been able to stay in front of both of them until a straightaway where they could both get by together. But this isn't a perfect world. This is Belle Isle.
That lap from Kankapati was only about a second and a half off his race pace, so not the end of the world there.
Yeah,
and if he keeps
what I'd like to do,
go ahead.
What I'd like to do right now is ride on board with Ronnie Nunez and see exactly how hard he's pushing for one lap.
Great idea.
All right, and so we're on board here with him.
And this right there, that's the section where you're turning left and trying to slow the car down for the difficult right-hand corner. That's one section I find difficult. Then we've got these two right-handers first, and then the second one tries to suck you out to the wall. It goes a tiny bit off camber on exit.
Here's the corner that I fear most that we're coming to. The second turn. Oh.
Yeah, that bump right there. You hear him lift out of the throttle a little bit, takes the tight line, and so he can straighten the steering a little bit as well. And those are the kind of things you need to do to keep the rear settled and in check over that bump. Lesson for everyone.
Always good to keep your rear settled. That's the huge ass way.
So here we go, leading onto this backstretch, which isn't really a straightaway, but for the drivers, they're wide open, flat out. But this braking section is tough because you're turning to the left, braking, and then turning back to the right. Here, back into the fountain.
Very interesting to see him hold second gear through some of these places you might have expected him to use first. I have to say, that's not fuel preservation, that's tire preservation and self-preservation.
There's some great driving there for that onboard lap from Nunez. Flirting with the wall, but he looks like he's calmed down a little bit. That was a great lap time, though, into the 13s, 13.773. Just keeping it smooth, keeping it cut tight, and some great driving to be seen.
And so Arjuna is on the pit lane.
That's a little bit early, but I want to believe he can make it to the end from there. Is that just for fuel and tires, or was there some repairs being done?
I don't think there are any repairs done. I think that may be a tire strategy there. Just give him some fresher tires than Nunez right at the end of the race, because I think that if Nunez then goes towards where he just needs a final splash for the final 4 laps, he won't bother taking tires at that point because of the time taken to get them up to temperature. So maybe this is a gambit.
Saw him go 17 laps on the first... Sorry, 17 laps on the first tank. So then Kankapati's just gone 10. We'll have 13 laps till the end. So that's spreading the stints at a bit more even length than what we're kind of expecting from Ronnie Nunez, is that we're expecting him in lap 34 in about 5 laps time.
And
I think Kankapati has to run his race.
Yeah, and it's clear from what we've seen of his driving so far that the driving has been very steady, very methodical, and this is sticking to his strategy, and he has a plan, and it's going to play out. And wherever it plays out, that's where he's going to be. And I admire that fortitude in a young driver here. And maybe the tires will prove to be a benefit at the end of the race. If Nunez comes in 34 laps, there's really no benefit in fitting new tires for the final 6 laps, where it takes a lap and a half to get up to temperature.
Yeah, especially as much trouble as he's had on cold ones.
Right, we've seen he's not necessarily...
Kankapati's been quick on the cold ones, but Nunez seems to have a hard time getting a grasp of them.
So I feel like he will definitely stay on the existing set and just take a splash of fuel to get him to the end of the race. Maybe this will be a factor in the final closing laps. We'll have to wait and see.
And so we see Nunez here starting to catch traffic.
Yep, William Whalen ahead of him. The Alexander Rossi livery there. And Nunez held up a little bit. He's probably going to get by before turn 3. Yep.
Yeah, not too bad. I would say if that's the worst he's held up today, then he'll have a great race. Benjamin Morton is now falling off the lead lap as well. So only 2 cars able to maintain the pace to stay on the lead lap.
And that last lap from Nunez was a 13.652, which is our fastest lap of the race, and he's really pushing hard now. His last 3 laps have all been in the 13s, and this is some phenomenal pace here from Ronnie Nunez.
Absolutely right. He's bringing the pace up, and we think it's a bit quick. Maybe you should consider the race length. Another quick one for him.
And sometimes, these top-line drivers, they have one speed, and that's flat out, and they can run to that level and run cleanly and run quickly. We see Kankapati here. His last lap was a 14.681. Of course, getting the tires up temperature at that point. but still, second off Nunez's pace and now being held up by Robert Elder in fourth place here, about to go a lap down again. This is, I don't think Kankapati has anything to answer.
Ooh, Kankapati, we're watching him. Took a lot of curb there just a moment ago. I thought that might be the end of his race. He's gathered it back up, and he was stayed away from the curbs in the next corner. I think maybe he learned his lesson.
Yeah, it's not the curbs that kill you, it's keeping the throttle in while you're over the curbs. The wheel can spin up, and when it Oh, no!
Oh, the commentator's curse has been...
that's a hefty impact there for Kankapati.
Now, has he saved a fast repair? I think he might still have one.
I believe he has. I believe
I'm not
he still
going to
has a
say
fast repair.
Isn't a chance for a win, but if he can get that back around, he could even still potentially be on the podium.
All right, so now we're going to see a replay of it here as he comes through turn one. Gets a little bit of curb back to the left here. Oh, just hits the bump and just loses it into the inside.
Yeah.
Starts to spin.
It's that bump that you were concerned about, Alex. It's exactly that bump on the exit of turn 2, and just ran over it while on the throttle, and there's no room for error there. It's a tragic mistake, but he's scampering back to the pits now. Hopefully there's a fast repair for him waiting in the pit lane.
He's got his hands full, but he's doing a pretty good job. I'm just basing it off of engine revs, and right here he's struggling a little bit in the slow speed stuff, but he did not lack any courage through the fast stuff without the wings. Wow.
No, I mean, this car is lacking both front and rear wings and most of the side panels as well. This is basically a go-kart with a very powerful
900 horsepower engine.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Now he's upside down.
Too hard, and now he's going to have to tow, and that might relinquish his position to Benjamin Morton.
He's got most of the way around that lap, though. Let's see how long the towing time and the subsequent repair will cost him.
From where he got to, that won't take the tow truck too long, but still not ideal at all. You always want to bring it back into the pits on its own wheels, as Ronnie Nunez does exactly that. Ronnie Nunez is in for what will probably be his final stop. Brought it in a little bit early. Maybe he was thinking about those tires. Let's see if Ronnie Nunez takes new tires at this stop where he feels to the end.
All right, I'm going to see. Oh, so Morton just went past the pits. That will allow him to go past Kankapati.
Was that a pass for position or just putting it back?
Morton is now in second. And Nunez is back on the racetrack.
Yeah, clean start from Nunez there.
No tires, interestingly.
No tires, just fuel. I think that's the smart move as we anticipated. He only has 8 laps remaining in the race. And there's no danger now for getting those cold tires back up at temperature and potentially another brush with the wall.
Yeah, he seems to be better on scrub tires than he is on slick ones. So,
absolutely.
Ronnie Nunez must believe that with the pace he was doing on those tires, that there's plenty left in him and he can take him to the end.
Kankapati, as we predicted, had saved that fast repair. He's back out on track now. In third place, hunting down Benjamin Morton, who still needs to stop, I believe. So this may be still close for second place here.
I think Kankapati's actually in fourth, but 4 seconds behind Robert Elder in third. We'll get a check on that.
Yes, and, that's correct.
Well, Kankapati, they're just tagging the wall and impacting the right-hand side of his car there.
No.
That's not going to help.
No, that's the end of the race for Kankapati. After holding such a pretty wheel for such a long time, he has 2 bad laps right in a row, and I think that's going to be it. Although we see Elder onto the pit road, so Kankapati back onto the podium.
Both Elder and Morton still have to pit, we believe. And that damage, it will be impacting the handling of his car with that front wing damage on the left-hand side. But he really has nothing to lose by just trying to make it to the end of the race now.
Benjamin Morton's been down the pit lane 2
seconds.
times. I don't know exactly when he came down, but I think Benjamin Morton might be able to go to the end.
No, I
Keep
guess
an eye on that.
Okay, so Morton He's been out for 6 laps. I'd say he can go all the way.
Yeah, I agree. He took his first stop on lap 17 and then second on lap 27, so he's completed his 2 stops. He should be good to the end.
He's not setting the timing screen alight, but he's out there and he's kept going, and that's what it's taking. That's what you need to do,
That's
seems.
what matters around here. This has certainly been a race of attrition.
Yeah, this race is much tougher than I imagined it would be, and I thought it was going to be a tough race.
And Kankabari there, car number 7 spinning into the wall, and that looks like a hefty impact, and he's had to tow to the pits. That may be a retirement there for our 3rd place driver.
It is. I believe they're going to go ahead and pack it in.
And that's that second to last corner that's caught him out. I think he got some curb, and the car doesn't like hitting the curbs.
And it only took 6 incidents.
There are only 6 drivers now remaining from a field of 22 that started the race. This has truly been a Monaco-esque race of attrition. And some drivers here who perhaps not fancied on raw pace to pick up a good result will be finishing in the top 5. Truly an example of a testament of survival over pace.
So, who I was going to call the king of Detroit earlier, Ronnie Nunez, driver from Great Britain, racing out of Australia, was our winner of the DP class of the sports car race. He's now trying to lap 2nd place here in the IndyCar race.
And now he's got these tires up to temperatures. He's right back onto the race pace that he had before the stop. Last lap was a 13.671, which is within 0.02 of a second of his first lap of the race. And this guy, his pace has been truly inspirational to watch.
Yeah, it's unmatched. No one has had anything for Ronnie Nunez tonight. He was about 1.5 seconds a lap quicker in the DP than the field. And then here tonight, he's had, well, it looks like every bit of a second in hand.
Yeah, and he knows now that Kankapati has unfortunately had to retire, pull the car in, that he's really being untroubled. This is the 2nd place car that he's about to put a lap on, so there's absolutely no reason for him to gamble, to push, to make a mistake, to give any sort of opportunity or window for some error. He just needs to run his line and keep it going.
Yeah, but I have to feel that Ronnie Nunez is a racing driver, and he's going to want to push. As you can see here, how hard he's pushing to try to lap Benjamin Morton. Morton not wanting to give up that position.
Morton fighting him off here. There may be a lap between them, but there seems to be no love lost here between the two.
Here we go.
2 drivers. They're running too wide there through turn 3 and 4.
Nail-biting stuff.
Oh, this is very tight. Nunez trying to set up a bit of a run here onto the backstretch. Nunez wasting nothing.
No, hanging it all out there under power onto the backstraight. That would have compromised his exit. Maybe, he's not able to get past before the end of the straight. And now we're into the complex. He's going to see if he can get a run.
That was interesting because when Nunez was fighting Kankapati, it looked like it was Nunez who had more straight line speed. Maybe Benjamin Morton has even more, and that's why he's been carefully going around.
And maybe Morton here is playing a little bit of a strategy game. If he can unnerve Nunez into a mistake here, he could potentially pick up the win still.
Right, yeah. I mean, he's racing him, right? He's in 2nd. That guy's in 1st. I think you're racing him. Fight him, fight him, fight him. He's giving nothing up. I love it. I love it.
This is an unorthodox race. I don't think we've seen this in Formula 1. And he is into the wall.
That's what you said might happen, and it did. The commentator's curse is real tonight.
It's real tonight. It remains to be seen how much damage Nunez has to the right side of his car there. Suspension looked like it took a pretty hefty whack both front and rear. So we will see if he has to pit or not. Maybe he has a meatball flag. We don't know.
Steering wheel doesn't quite look straight on Ronnie Nunez.
let's keep an eye on him here as he comes through the final section. Car is certainly not up to pace. William Morland behind him is
catching back up to Morton. So
yeah, I don't know that suspension doesn't look perfect alignment to me, and he's diving to the pit lane.
Oh man!
And remember,
now he has saved his fast repair, we believe.
We shall see.
We will see. Indeed. He's got 1 lap lead with 3 laps to go. I think Ronnie Nunez would be saying, service the car what you can, get me back out there. I've just got to get back out on track and take that.
Oh, there it is, the fast repair.
And there's the fast repair. And that is veteran strategy there from Nunez. As we said, you never know what's around the next corner. And he had damage earlier in the race. He took it as an optional repair rather than a fast repair. Was able to get service in a slightly longer time than perhaps it would have taken with the fast repair, but he kept it for when it really mattered, and he was able to get back out on track with a minimal time lost.
Of course, the other strategy would have been maybe just back off and ride, but I'm not the king of Detroit. He is. So
this guy knows what it takes to be a winner around here.
Right, and that's why I had to hang it up. So Ronnie Nunez continuing to lead as we see him work his way in here to the Fountain Complex. It's very slow. And of course, slow is relative because slow in an Indy car is 75 miles an hour, which is fast in a Global Mazda.
Yeah, it's just working the car. I think he's backed off a little bit now. There's no pressing need for him to pass anybody or to defend. We see Morton still on the lead lap, but not in any immediate threat to Nunez.
Yeah, the bragging rights are off the table. We can no longer claim to be the king of Detroit and lap the field in the Indy race. So best now just to go ahead and get the finish, both the wins. That's something no one else can have tonight. So, a couple of cars running closely together, though, are the 455 and the 20. Second place and fourth place.
Yeah, Benjamin Morton there after his lap down battle with Nunez has lost none of his fight, and William Warland behind him, who's running about a second and a half quicker than Benjamin, but is a lap down, maybe looking to get a lap back for pride as we approach the end of this race.
And Ronnie Nunez will receive the white flag as he crosses the line that time. 1 more to go here at Belle Isle for the IndyCar Grand Prix.
Nunez last lap there was a 13.787.
Oh wow! And now Elder, they're catching Elder. So, 3 of the 5 drivers that are still running are all together almost under a blanket here. Oh, and his Elder goes around.
Elder's around.
Elder's around and in the wall there, and he's had to tow to the pits. That's our 3rd place driver. That may have handed 3rd place there to William Warland on the very last lap. We'll have to see how it comes around, but I don't think
those
Robert
guys got to do a whole nother lap.
fast.
They just started their last lap.
Yep.
Nunez coming around here towards the end of his lap now. The double right-hander back
You'll
here.
see the checkered flag now. Last just little kink through the checkered flag in the air, and your winner, the King of Detroit. Both races clean sweeping the HJ Showcase from Belle Isle, Ronnie Nunez.
And I think, just worth mentioning, the final lap there was a 13.531, the fastest lap of the race. To really put his stamp on proceedings, that's an excellent drive there from Ronnie Nunez. Truly inspirational to watch.
I hope we get to see some Alex Zanardi donuts here. It looks
and
like
there they are. There they are.
This takes me back to to 2000 whenever I was at the Grand Prix and saw Alex Zanardi pull donuts in multiple locations around the circuit.
Excellent drive.
Congratulations to Ronnie Nunez on both races tonight.
Yeah, that was superb.
And Benjamin Morton just coming out of the penultimate corner now. Second place, nearly a whole lap behind, but he held his nerve, held his car together. And Benjamin Morton will take second place.
And Whalen able to get the last step on the podium there. Elder losing that position with just over 1 lap to go. So
yeah, very exciting. Right to the finish there. I feel sorry for Robert Elder. He made a mistake coming out of the fountain section. And that was that. Losing third place, final step on the podium.
So do you guys want to run us down the finishing order real quick?
Sure. So your winner tonight, Ronnie Nunez, the king of Detroit. In second place, 56 seconds back, was Benjamin Norton. And third place was William Whalen, who was able to pick up a position there on the last lap over Robert Elder, who made a mistake with just over 1 lap to go. Also still running at the finish was Matthew Holmes in fifth. In sixth was Arjuna Kankipati. We saw a great race out of Arjuna tonight. Really sad that he wasn't able to make it to the finish. Lionel Freese in seventh. Lionel, one of the drivers doing double duty tonight. Ross Rizzo, who ran up front for a long time tonight, comes home in eighth. James L. Harrison, ninth. Mike Young in 10th. Alexander Cofford in 11th. Marshall Stanley in 12th. Benjamin Perez in 13th. Lyndon Swaby in 14th. Thomas Cladd in 15th. Julian Rambo in 16th. 17th. Brian Newton, 18th. Alexander Clank, 19th. Jorge Ordonez Villegas, 20th. Matt Hollabaugh, 21. Warren Pickering. And that is the running order tonight.
Now, Alex, I'll have you do a little bit of housekeeping because only 4 of us can fit in the broadcast booth here. And we have Ronnie Nunez standing by in the party room. Can you please help him get in?
Sure.
And as Alex goes to chase up Ronnie Nunez, we will hopefully have him standing by soon. And Ronnie Nunez joins us. Yes, yes. Well, great work to you sweeping both races in the HJ Showcase of Belle Isle. We've just watched the IndyCar Grand Prix, but first I will have to ask you about the Sports Car Classic and your impressions of the Belle Isle circuit. What did it take to win in the Daytona prototype at Belle Isle?
For putting this together. It's been a really great event. It was a pretty straightforward race. I did some practice 2 days ago, ever since the track was released. Instantly fell in love with the track. Ever since I've been following IndyCar and the kart series. Detroit has been one of those places that I would have loved to do night racing or sim racing in general. And yeah, it just came together.
Awesome. Tom, did you have something to say?
Yeah, so we were really impressed by your pace throughout the IndyCar race today, despite the moments you had with traffic and with the wall. And you set the fastest lap on your final lap of the race. So clearly not afraid of pushing. Was there any strategy that you were employing throughout the race?
Not really. I mean, after quali, I knew that I couldn't get those minute 12s in quali. I mean, maybe if I pull all my sectors together, but I didn't think that I had the pace to fight for P1. Eventually, I had some luck, and some of the guys in front dropped out. And I started getting more comfortable with the car as the race went on. Obviously, as you guys could see, I had a few silly mistakes, really. I was just trying to enjoy myself by that point, and yeah, but it's so intense driving those cars around here, but it's so rewarding.
Awesome, Joel. We saw you pick up the fastest lap on the last lap of the race. Did you save any push to passes for that?
No, actually, it's the first time that I drive these cars, and I wasn't really sure if push to pass was even available. I never used it.
Wow. Okay. Well, congratulations to you on your win in the Sports Car Classic and the IndyCar Grand Prix. A clean sweep for Ronnie Nunez. Do you have anyone you need to thank?
I want to thank my team, especially Sasha, which is a team leader. He's a really IndyCar geek. So yeah, his passion really translates into me in that we both love IndyCar and the American Open Wheel Series.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you. Thank you. And will we see you again for any future HJ events?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for hosting these, guys. Good night.
Thank you, and well done again.
Thank you.
Well, we had action in both races and a few more cars made it to the finish in the Sports Car Classic, but I was very excited to see those cars warm up the streets of Belle Isle for potentially the first broadcast race from Belle Isle on iRacing. From me, David Haynes, thank you.
And thank you from me, Thomas Ellison. It's been a pleasure to bring you this IndyCar race tonight. And look forward to the next time that we broadcast.
Alex Albert was also with you for both races, so he's not around right now. Well, here's Alex to say thank you and good night.
Good night. Mahalo.
Bye.